Hi there, I'm Nayantara Rai, working from home as all of you must also be. Now, let's talk about the healthcare system at large. There is one healthcare company which has been offering its assets, its hospitals, its doctors and nurses, like many other healthcare companies, to the government, state governments as well as the central government at large. I now welcome the chairman and the top boss of Max Healthcare, Abhay Soy, who's joining us live right here on ET Now. Hi, Mr. Soy. A pleasure talking to you. Good to have you back right here on ET Now. This is Nayantara Rai in New Delhi. A lot has changed since the last time we spoke. Now, Max Healthcare and Radiance, with two hospitals in the financial capital of Mumbai as well as the national capital of New Delhi, have given one hospital each in the two cities to the state government, which are being treated, from what I understand, to be COVID war zones, including the large Nanavati hospital in Mumbai. Can you confirm that for us? And how has that been? How is it that how has it been assisting the government? What has it been like? Have you provided more doctors, nurses? What's the battle against COVID been going like?
So on a few occasions now, both we have volunteered our flagships in Delhi as well as Mumbai. In Delhi, it's Max Saket East, and in Mumbai, of course, Nanavati, like you mentioned, which we have volunteered as COVID-only facilities. And I must tell you that it is actually a moment of pride for us that our employees, our people, our staff, our doctors, so on and so forth, have volunteered to work in hazardous situations, to stand shoulder to shoulder with the government in this enterprise. Other than that, I must also say that, look, the healthcare sector has been seeing through times. A lot of our management has volunteered up to even a 25% cut in their salaries. And actually, at present, we are not only not only healthcare, but like our motto says, Care for Life. We are also distributing close to 2.7 lakh meals to the poor in Delhi. We are distributing medicines to various small places such as orphanages, etc., which have had supply line issues, the supply chain issues. And the reason I'm bringing this up is essentially this is entirely being funded by what the employees have volunteered from their salaries.
So, Abhay Soy, what else Max Healthcare has done is, try and introduce the plasma treatment in New Delhi. There is that famous case now, how one patient in the 40s has reacted to it positively. You were able to even get this patient, I understand, off the ventilator. What was so special about this plasma treatment? And the second question is that, can this be replicated? From everything we've been hearing about coronavirus, the biggest fear and threat is that it's a virus that is malleable. It reacts differently in different bodies. So is it possible to use this plasma treatment on other patients as well?
Look, I think, eventually the solution for this problem is going to come through medicine. Is going to be a medical solution for this corona problem. At this point of time, we used it off-label. We used it on compassionate grounds. We used it as a lifesaver at a point when not many options were available for that particular patient. And, their family actually consented and even brought the donor in this place for this particular purpose. That's really a time where you're trying to throw everything at a problem. We were successful. This was late stages. The person was on ventilation and not in a very good situation. We've been able to pull him back, and it's been successful in this particular case. Again, I think the jury is still out on this particular technique in terms of having adequate scientific data to back it up. Although it's been used successfully in many, many places. It's not, of course, we've been perhaps the first people in India, but globally it's been used in other situations as well. And, there are going to be clinical trials of this. We have applied to ICMR for the clinical trials. And I think once the scientific basis is established for it, who knows, perhaps, this would be the course of treatment. Right now, it seems very promising for certain.
Okay, and now that this patient has reacted positively to the plasma treatment, is this something that you're working with the government with? Are you working with other healthcare companies, other doctors to broad base the treatment? Is this one of the solutions?
Well, this could potentially be one of the solutions if, one of the indications is for it to be used earlier on in the treatment. And ICMR is conducting a study where many people have registered to be a part of the trial, part of the study, and so has Max Healthcare. In this current instance, we used it, like I mentioned, we used it on compassionate grounds for a life-saving purpose, okay, and we were successful in doing so. Not only in this study, we are also a part of perhaps the first study for prophylactic use of HCQ, which has been registered by ICMR, where we've 15,000 of our healthcare workers have actually volunteered for it. So that'll be another study which is going to be at the cutting edge. By the end of it, we are a research-based organization. We are an academic, our hospitals are academic institutes as well, majority of our hospitals. So this is in line with our ethos as well.
You know, I always say this, and it's kudos to the foot soldiers, the real warriors, when it comes to the battle against COVID, and that's the doctors as well as the nurses. Abhay, so you've been talking about how you want to do more against this war, how you want to work closely with the government, work closely with the medical fraternity as India fights coronavirus. Do you have enough doctors and enough nurses? There's been a big fear on just India and its healthcare social infrastructure.
So I think two or three things. Firstly, we have been synchronizing our efforts both with the government of Delhi, government of Punjab, government of Maharashtra, in order to stand shoulder to shoulder and also be upfront with them on the front line with them in this war against COVID. Like I mentioned, both our flagship facilities, we have volunteered for this particular purpose. Are there enough doctors, enough nurses, etc.? Look, in a global pandemic like this, at this point of time, perhaps, of course, yes. But if it goes eventually the way it has in some of the other countries, we hope it does not. But if it does, then there is never enough nurses, enough doctors, enough infrastructure. I do understand that we perhaps are even shorter on it compared to most other developed countries. But by the end of it, it's going to come down to the amount of perseverance, amount of character. Not that any other country lacks in that, but nothing is going to be enough in that particular situation. At this point of time, when we look at the amount of people infected in the country, the amount of people hospitalized, and the amount of critical care beds that are occupied, perhaps the most accurate data that you have reflective of the situation in India is the critical care beds. Because, as you're aware, as part of the government advisory, all patients, even if they are mildly symptomatic, are being hospitalized, whereas in other countries in the world, such patients would be quarantined at home. On the other hand, you also have people who are reticent about entering hospitals and getting hospitalized even if they are mildly symptomatic. They'd rather be at home, so perhaps they were ducking such situations. But if somebody is really unwell, clearly and surely he is going to be will be at the critical care, would occupy the critical care bed. Now, if you look at a place like Delhi, you have perhaps 35 beds which are occupied by critical care, and in Mumbai you have 45 beds by critical care, occupied in critical care. Now, globally that means the ratio is about 5 to 7%. But even amongst the total number of positives which have been found out through tests in India, that number is only demonstrating about 1.2, 1.3% in both these places. So, it's promising at this point in time, but it's still early days.
Okay. Abhay, so, the other question I have for you, we are in the midst of now lockdown 2.0. And as India fights coronavirus, and we hear about the cases being doubled every day, though, it's not as if India is free from other ailments, other diseases. Private laboratories are already talking about how they can't carry out other tests. Other blood tests have become a challenge. Cancer tests, for example, have become a challenge. There are not enough salts and dyes and all of that. It's not as if people are not suffering from diabetes or heart attack, etc., etc. Can you give us an update at Max Healthcare? How are you dealing with all of this? Like, do you have barring the Nanavati in Mumbai and barring the one hospital in New Delhi, are you getting patients even at a time when everything that is elective obviously is being discouraged?
Well, so clearly, I think at a time of lockdown, and most reactions of most people, most healthcare groups, both government as well as private, has been to cancel electives and cancel OPDs as well. This is something this is going to start post lockdown getting removed. But at this point in time, most people have taken a big hit on their revenues in occupancy, and so has Max Healthcare. I think across the board, everybody is operating at circa 30% occupancy levels. Now, having said that, I think I'll just come back to the former part of your question, which is essentially got to do with supply chain of some other essential consumable medicines and so on and so forth with respect to other ailments other than COVID. Now, at the time of lockdown, of course, there would be disruption of supply chain, but given the fact that there's been a cancellation of large amount of electives, I don't think there's such a major dearth or such a major paucity of other medicines and consumables. Also, what has happened is people are postponing those decisions. So let's say if somebody was to, and one of the fallouts which I see, a negative fallout of this situation is that if somebody was going to have a cancer surgery perhaps earlier on in the day, is now going to postpone it, and perhaps it's not such a good situation to be in as far as the patient is concerned. So your mortality rates or late stage surgeries will increase, whereas the early stage surgeries may get postponed on, which is not necessarily a good situation to be in eventually.
And Abhay sir, but when you deal with all of this, what is it going to mean for the future of healthcare infrastructure as well? If hospitals aren't as busy as they used to be, are you one wants to understand this because healthcare infrastructure in India is not what it should be. So when you do that, when you don't have the kind of facilities that you're supposed to be having, when doctors and nurses are being diverted for the crisis at hand, the war that we are waging and fighting, what is going to be the future of healthcare? Because is there a fear that whether it's you or your companions and your industry peers will not be investing back in this crucial sector?
I think on the contrary, if you ask me, after this crisis, we are going to see a disproportionate amount of investment perhaps coming to healthcare. I'm fairly certain that globally, a large part of the GDP now is going to, a larger part of the GDP is going to get invested towards healthcare infrastructure, towards sponsoring patients and so on and so forth. So clearly, I think over a medium to long run, surely it is going to be beneficial for the industry because one will recognize the need for such infrastructure and essential it is going forward. I think this sort of situation will really will bear us towards that direction. With respect to the current business or the predicament that we are in, clearly like how the Prime Minister said, it's all about life right now, not about livelihood. While most people are taking a hit on their revenues and so on, but I think this is the time where we need to be sensitive to lives. We need to be not only of our patients but of our healthcare workers as well. So it's all about taking the precautions, meticulous planning, having adequate supply of personal protection equipment, training, and ensuring that our healthcare workers and our patients remain safe. In fact, one of the things that we've started in this towards this front is actually screening all our healthcare workers as well as all the patients who are at the hospitals. We've gone a step further where even attendants, if they have to come in, we are not permitting attendance, and by exception, if we have to permit attendance, we are only doing it after a screening or a testing which is conducted. Because each person has the potential of bringing infection into our facilities at this point in time. We are being extra careful about it. We are trying to be very responsible in terms of, in terms of securing the place for our patients and our healthcare workers, and also ensuring that if there is any infection at our facilities, they're not taken back to the communities by the patients or the workers, for that matter.
Okay, as we start winding down the interview, Abhay, so you all are in regular touch with the government, whether it's you, whether it's Dr. Naresh Trehan from Medanta, of course the AIIMS director, Dr. Randeep Guleria, Dr. Sangeeta Reddy from Apollo. I'm sure all of you regularly speak to each other as well. Given how the situation is at the moment, the way the numbers are, any views that all of you have on the lockdown? Does the government consult with all of you at all on that front?
Of course, I think, the government at various levels does seek inputs from time to time. And, however, having said that, decisions is something which the government makes on its own. Clearly, the lockdown has done well. For us, at the very least, it has bent the curve, which has given us time to build, our supply chains, our supplies, to organize the infrastructure, organize the resources. We are certainly far better off than we were prior to the lockdown. And, from that standpoint, it has done well. But, the government probably has a finer balancing act. It is lives versus livelihoods at some point in time. Where one starts really outweighing the other. I think, the balance needs to be struck.
I don't want to get into the conversation of flattening the curve or not. I don't think you and I are experts on that front at all. But, just the fact about rapid tests, I want to touch upon that and make this my final question. We've seen the private laboratories start doing that. It took some time. There was, a certain stumbling block in the way of the Supreme Court. But all of that is now taken care of. What would be your immediate asks to the government when it comes to this fight against the coronavirus? What is it that what else is it that the private sector can do?
I think first and foremost, as far as the curve is concerned, one doesn't have to be, an expert in statistics, but I think clearly when we speak to our counterparts in other countries, the kind of wave that we've seen as far as, and I'm talking about hospital counterparts, okay, the kind of waves we've seen, the kind of infection that we've seen, it is not something which is seen at the hospital level. Eventually, if people fall sick, they do go to hospitals one way or the other. So from that standpoint, I think we are in a fairly good position to assimilate that sort of data. So that's one. I think, what the private sector can do to contain the infection, I think, that is something for the government to do, the containment strategy. The private sector, at least as far as the hospitals are concerned, we can ensure that our own facilities remain clean. We do not add to the disease burden by infecting either other patients or our own healthcare workers, and thereby they don't take it back to their communities. I think that is essential. So this is what we are trying to break that cycle. Eventually, sick people, please understand, while you and I would be, or many people out there would be isolating themselves at home, healthcare workers are going to a facility which has infection in it by its very nature, simply because you have patients coming in. So we need to ensure that we adhere to the right protocols. Those people are isolated, and we ensure that our healthcare workers are screened, are not taking the disease to other patients, to other healthcare workers, their own colleagues, or back to their communities. I think from that standpoint, we are an essential part of breaking the cycle. But in terms of prevention, very little that we can do. If today it starts spreading in clusters or from the community standpoint, because we can manage our own facilities as best.
Okay, and here's, I'm going to end this interview by once again saying thank you to all your healthcare professionals, the real foot soldiers, the warriors, as they rage this battle against coronavirus. Thank you, Abhay Soi, for joining us here on ET Now.
Appreciate that. Thank you very much.